The City of Carlsbad is a great place to live, work, and play. It's a well-planned community, but a lot of the planning was at those points in times when we were really car-centric culture in Southern California, and we've been working really hard to change that, to create spaces for cyclists, for pedestrians, and all modes of transportation. It's an innovative city too. We're home of Legoland, California, the largest desal plant on the West Coast, and major companies like Viasat. And so when we had a tragedy happen last August that really brought a focal point to road safety, we applied those innovation principles and declared a state of emergency, just like you would in the case of a fire or an earthquake, to put all of our resources around focusing on fatalities and injuries in our city, in any mode of transportation. With the city council, the city manager, and all of our departments aligned, we focused on three main areas: education, enforcement, and also engineering. So changing our roads and roadways and making them safer, bringing the public into being a part of this, and using the enforcement mechanism really as a way to educate people and build community support around creating safer streets in Carlsbad. Well, the three main moves really started with, let's get the public to buy into what we were doing together, and that safer streets is everyone's responsibility. Whether you're walking, driving, riding your bicycle, we're all a part of creating that safer street. So through a pledge campaign, the Safer Streets Pledge, where we have distributed over 5,000 materials like stickers, where we've gone into schools to educate, and creating an ability via social media platforms and public sentiment insights to really move the needle on people being a part of this community of safety. But it's also about what you can physically see on your roads and roadways. So high visibility crosswalks, green paint for bikeways, changing some of our projects to create physical barriers between bike lanes or pedestrian lanes. The engineering approach to making it more difficult to end up having a collision, and especially one that leads to an injury or fatality, are part of our both near-term and long-term plans. And over the last 6 months, there have been significant interventions in that space. And then finally, enforcement. On the enforcement side, it's not just about writing people tickets and getting them to pay them. We actually created a diversion program so that if you were cited for an incident like that, and we targeted and looked at our enforcement around heat spots and heat maps that we created on the data side, you would have the opportunity to go take a class and avoid paying that ticket, bringing you into the community of support to create those safer streets for all. And we have seen measurable change in just 6 months. Well, everybody always wants to know, what's the proof in the pudding? You know, causation versus correlation. There's lots of things that people kind of understand might make sense, but it comes down to a data-driven approach. And so, fortunately, this city council and manager have invested in an innovation team, in data governance, a citywide data policy, the systems and the practices across our city that collect and ensure good quality data, and that information can be shared. So me and my team dug straight into our injury collision data, creating heat maps and understanding our most dangerous intersections using a 5-year analysis, but then tracking on a go-forward basis what was happening, where our interventions created measurable change, analyzing social media impact and reach and outreach to see, is the public really hearing and understanding our message, and then using qualitative data from engagement to understand what the human perspective was like. And we just reported out to the city council about what has occurred in just 6 months. We saw that in the data, the fourth quarter of the year, October, December, the final part of the year, there's always an uptick in collisions. People are back to school, there's more vehicle trips, there's more dangerous conditions with weather, although we are in sunny Southern California. But those things were, over a pattern of 5 years, always increasing. We looked at a trend line that showed, likely given our previous 3 quarters, we would see a 20% increase in those collisions in the fourth quarter between 22 in last year. What did we end up seeing? It was absolutely shocking. We saw in that fourth quarter not just flatlining and bucking the trend, but a reverse trend of a 40% decrease from what we thought the increase was going to be in that fourth quarter. Something that has not happened ever in the 5 years of data that we analyzed. We also took a month-by-month comparison of both all modes of transportation collisions, injury collisions, and found that in that same period last year, we had 19% less injury collisions. And then down to the bikes, which really were a big impetus for us, because those are your vulnerable active transportation users along with pedestrians. We saw a 13% decrease in the 16 months for injury collisions related to bikes. On all measures, this fast intervention, declaration of an emergency, pooling resources to have immediate change, and then setting the plan for the long-term transformation is really leading to safer streets in Carlsbad, fewer injuries, fewer deaths, and putting us on a transportation future that everyone in the community can buy into.